Alright guys, let's get this show on the road. Just before I get started, just a couple of notices as always. To be honest, I've got no idea what's happening with the MCAT. I have no clue. I'm pretty much clueless when it comes to what's happening this year. All I know is that I kind of got in touch with some of the teachers at senior college just to find out what's happening. And they're all having a meeting on what is going to go down, and I don't have any more information apart from the fact that they are just having a conversation right now to try and figure out what it is that they're going to do with the MCAT. But like I said to some of my old students, that it's business as usual. Just continue preparing for what you guys are doing, and that's why I was originally thinking about running some mathematics series where just focusing on just like level 2 calculus and level 3 differentiation, for example. But I've decided to actually go back to the roots and just go, look, we're just going to run the tutorials as is. So that means we're going back to level 1 tutorial, and we'll just continue preparing for as if the MCAT was actually on the 17th of September. However, if they do decide to shift it further, and that just means we actually can we'll be a bit more prepared because we'll have a little bit more time to work well. Quarantine has been a bit interesting because my wife's actually been home, so it's good, so that my kid is actually very well looked after. I don't have to stress so much like the last quarantine. But look, let's get the show on the road. Level 2s, I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow, and I know a couple of level 2s are actually here, and I do apologize to the level 3s I know some of you might be joining in. I was supposed to run one last Wednesday, but that kind of just gone thrown around quite a bit because of all the COVID stuff. So as for us, we'll be back to normal, going through with the normal tutorials leading up to September, and then back into NCEA itself exams. Cool. So the questions that we're going to be focusing today mainly are quadratic inequations. So looking at factorizing quadratic equations and then getting that zone correct. So we'll start off with some really simple ones, and then hopefully by the end of the session you guys can actually do some of them. Well, they're not really complicated. They're just two kind of ideas. It's factorized, and then you have to find the right zone, and you're good to go. So that's what we're going to be doing today, guys. So if you've already done this, you're more than welcome to kind of just come in and out. That's absolutely fine. Apart from that, we shall get started with the first question. So with quadratic inequations, or inequalities as sometimes they're called, basically the way the question works is that you've got to factorize, and you've got to actually figure out the zone that this is going to be true. Now, what I will also show you guys is what the exam questions could look like. So this is kind of like the foundation of it, but then I'll show you guys what the word questions could potentially look like as well. Some of the language that they use in terms of these types of questions. So we're going to get started with the first question. As always, the first kind of idea here is that the first thing you got to realize is that with quadratic inequations, you pretty much treat it exactly like a normal quadratic equation, and you're going to factorize it. All right, so that means what we're going to do is we're actually going to go we're going to factorize this. So in this case, what happens is we're going to get x minus 4, x minus 2, and what you could potentially do is instead of putting it less than 0, you could put this as equals to 0 for now, and I'm going to show you guys what your final answer is going to look like. All right, so by putting it equal to 0, then what you can do is you can do the two next steps, which is x minus 4 equals to 0, or x minus 2 equals to 0. And when we rearrange this, we're going to get x is equal to 4, or x is equal to 2. Oh, yeah, plus 2, sorry. That's got to be plus 2. So if that's plus 2, then we're going to get minus 2 here. Yeah, spotted my mistake. Sorry, guys. Always nice to start off with a mistake. Okay, now with a question like this, if you do just up to here, you're going to end up with, what do you call it? You might end up getting like an achieved. So if these types of questions tend to be merit questions, if it's like a straight up quadratic, which is less than 0. So at this point, what you got to do is you got to actually figure out the right zone that they're in. And what I mean by zone is the easiest way to do this is look at the coefficient of x squared. All right. Now, some of you guys might have done tables, equations, and graphs already. Some of you guys, some of you might have not done tables, equations, and graphs. But I just want to show you guys what this question actually means. All right. Now, understand this. This also helps you guys with tables, equations, and graphs. So just bear with me while I try and explain this. So the first thing to realize is that because I've highlighted that x squared, it is going to be a positive parabola. All right. So what I mean by positive parabola, it is going to look like a smiley face here. Okay. So once we get that as a positive parabola, the next thing to keep in mind is these two x values that we've actually figured out, which is 4 and -2. All right. So if 4 and -2 is what we call the roots or solutions. So in other words, if we have the x and y axis like that, we're going to end up with 2 points where this point is -2 and this point is +4. I'll answer that question shortly, Mano, but I'll just finish this and then I'll go through that question. So once we have got those two solutions, right, now the next part to remember is this little inequation that actually says less than 0. All right, so we're looking for when is this equation less than 0, and we can kind of see it like it's less than 0 in this particular zone here. And the reason is because you have the value of y there is equal to 0. So because of that, what you actually got here is you've actually got the zone where this equation is always going to be less than 0, which means we can write the final answer here as -2. X is between -2 and +4. So that is what our first answer is going to be. Now notice I've kind of didn't actually put the less than sign here, and I just put it as equals, and I just kind of worked it through. All right, one other thing, guys, I know some of you guys are just joining in and kind of just going on having a conversation. Just would really appreciate it if you could keep the conversation to the questions, because ultimately I'm trying to help people and it's a bit hard for me to catch up with all the spamming that's kind of happening. So I'm going to leave question 1 here, and if you guys got any questions, feel free to kind of ask which line that you guys don't actually understand, and I will explain it. While that's happening, Mano, MCAT is more important for level 2 calculus, or I think both are important, Mano. If you're doing calculus, or if you're thinking about doing calculus at level 3, you probably want to make sure you get a decent grade at MCAT and tables, equations, and graphs as well. Both of them are pretty important if you're doing calculus at level 3 or level 2. Are we okay with question 1, and can I go through question 2? Line 5. Okay, so line 5, L. Yep. Why did you do that for line 5? Okay, so line 5, notice how I colored it in. No, it's awesome. We got quite a few people that don't understand line 5. That's all right. So basically what I'm going to talk to you guys about line 5 here is this. So we've got, I'm just going to see if I can reshade this. Might try a different color here. So basically, the first thing you guys need to realize is this equation that we have here is the parabola, right? So that's the entire parabola that's there. So that's the whole parabola. But we figured out what those 2 points are, which is -2 and 4. That's when it equals to 0. But the light blue part here that I've actually shaded right here, it says when is this graph below 0. So when we look at it, when is it below 0? It's actually below 0 between -2 and +4. All right, so if it's between -2 and +4, the way we write it is that the x value is, let me just get rid of this. So the way we write it is like this. First, we write our x values down. And so the x has to be smaller than 4, but it also has to be bigger than -2. So that's why you end up writing it like that. So it basically just lines up there if you look at it. So the -2 comes there, +4 comes there, and it's the zone between -2 and +3. Sorry, +4. So anything but, so Josh, in this case, the part is actually blue, the blue part is actually below 0. That's why I've given you the second question. If you look at question number 2, question number 2 is greater than 0, and I'll show you what that looks like. How do we find the equation of the parabola? Fletcher, the equation would be given to you. So they'd actually give you the equation and ask you questions like, when is it bigger than 0 or less than 0, and so on. Not Beckhamster? This should be fairly straightforward for you, buddy. But I think, nah, you're all good there. Yeah, it's fine. For standing stuff. So Josh, I've answered your question. Cameron, oh, no worries, Cameron. What about the greater two signs? Yeah, Campbell, whenever you get less than 0 or greater than 0, you'll always end up with a zone. So you won't get, your final answer is not going to be just like equals to. It'll be like a particular zone. Like, let me show you guys number 2 and see if you can notice the difference. And then we'll do 2 similar questions like 1 and 2 so you guys get the hang of it, all right? So question number 2, as always, I'm going to factorize first. So in this case, what I'm going to get is x plus 3 and x minus 1 is equal to 0. Yeah, pretty much by nevermore. At the beginning of the question, I'm going to treat it as equals. But then at the end of the question, when I change it, I'm changing it to the zones. I'm not putting it as equals. So if I had written, if I'd only done up to line 3 in question 1, I'm only going to get an achieved for that. Cool. So if you guys keep following this question, the next part is we've got x plus 3 equals to 0, or we're going to get x minus 1 equals to 0. And so we've got our 2 values. We've got x minus 3 or x is equal to positive 1. So again, same kind of ideas between what we did with the question 1, all right? So we're putting it equals to 0, and then we are solving for those 2 solutions, and then we've got those 2 solutions right now, and I made another mistake, which is x minus 3. Yeah, sorry, bye. So once we have those 2 things, we're going to do this whole little diagram again. So our first step is looking at the coefficient of x squared. So that's a positive parabola. So if it's a positive parabola, and our 2 values that we're looking at is -3 and +1, and our graph is probably going to look something like this. Now in this case, if we go back to the symbol, the sign, what it's asking for, it's actually saying the quadratic has to be bigger than 0. Okay, let me just go back to the questions. Give me a second before I go through this. Grammar school lecture. Yeah, Mano, I'm unsure what schools are doing at the moment because just because of COVID, man. But you don't need to do the MCAT as long as you are learning the algebra. So I think that's more important, that you learn the algebra, because like I know that the last couple of years, the school that I was at, we didn't actually do the MCAT, but we did teach the algebra. So the algebra aspect of it is really important, man. Fletcher, there is a 1.3 section in my YouTube, in the YouTube channel. If you have a look at it, there is a section on finding parabolas, equation of parabolas. Science ago, no, not angry. 2-year-old. Oh God, come on, guys. What do we got? So step 1 to 3B achieved, 4 to 5B merit. Josh, yes, in this particular type of question, it will be achieved in merit. But I'm going to show you guys a question towards the end of the session, hopefully, which will show you guys what an excellence question could look like. What do I mean by possible positive parabola? Campbell. So you got to look at the coefficient of x squared. So just a couple of ideas. If it's positive x squared, it's going to look like this. If it's minus 2x squared or minus x squared or minus 0.5x squared, so if there's a negative in front of it, it's going to be upside down. But if it's like plus, like a positive number in front of x squared, then it's going to be like a happy face. The other version is going to be like an upside down version. Okay, sweet. So far we're good with question number 2. So question number 2, it's actually asking for greater than 0. So if it's greater than 0, we're actually looking for when is this graph above the line that's equal to 0. So notice the difference between question 1 and 2. In question 1, because it was less than 0, we were looking for below the x-axis. And in question 2, we're looking for greater than 0. That means we're looking for above the x-axis. So in this case, and I know people end up doing this. So the way I've taught my guys is always write or to start off with, and then write the two values next to each other. So you've got -3 and 1. And then put the arrows. So the thinking behind is that you've actually got x is less than -3, which means any value you take of x which is less than -3 is going to satisfy the condition, and also when x is bigger than 1. So that's everything from 1 and above. So these are the only two situations that actually happen, and I'm going to be honest, this particular idea you're going to use if you're doing at level 2 calculus, you're going to use this idea. If you're doing level 2 algebra, you're going to use this idea. If you're doing level 3 calculus, this is also going to come in very handy. So if I could ask you to take away anything from this session, is just this screenshot of this thing here is going to help you pretty much with some of those excellence questions at level 2 and level 3 and so on. All right, let me answer some questions, and then I'm going to put up a couple of questions for you guys to try and work through. Will they do the MCAT online? I don't know, man. I really can't answer that question. Riley will get to that eventually. Where did I miss it? How come your school doesn't do the MCAT test? Mano, I work at a junior college. I don't even teach level 1, 2, and 3. The highest I teach is year 10. Can we still pass the question if you don't do the graph diagram? Fletcher, the graph is just there for you to see, to make it easy for you. If you do the graph, I don't think if you do the graph you get any grades. You can actually answer the question without doing the graph itself. But I just do the graph for people so that you can actually you can kind of visually see where the zones are and so forth. So Campbell, the zones are flipped because if you look at that blue thing that I've highlighted at the top of the question, it's actually greater than 0. So you're actually looking for when it's actually above 0 on the y-axis. So that's why we actually flip the zone. So I want to show you guys something, all right? Like just to kind of show you guys. Just give me 1 second. I just want to go through this. Yeah, Josh, would you? Yeah, man. Look, just chill, man. Like, love the content. Yep. No worries, Sam. You're welcome. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you guys what the questions look like. in a graph format, all right? So we've just done these two questions algebraically, but what does it actually look like in a graph? So here we go. So if you guys remember, the first question we had was x squared minus 2x minus 8, right? So x squared minus 2x minus 8. So if you guys have a look at this, here's our 2 points that we actually found out, -2 and +4, right? Now, if you look at the question was, when is this graph less than 0? So if I actually go back here and I put in less than 0, damn it. You can actually see when is this graph between less than 0. It's actually giving us two zones. So between -2 and +4, that's where the graph is actually less than 0. And if you look at the other question, x squared plus 2x minus 3. So if I go x squared plus 2x minus 3, if I look at it, when is it bigger than 0? It's when it's actually less than -3 and when it's greater than 1. So if I actually put this greater than 0, then the two outside areas are going to get colored. So that's why you see that little gap in the middle. So if we go back to my working, that's why there's a little or, because it's x's. There's actually two zones when the graph looks like this, and when it's question 1, you've only got one zone you're actually looking at. So Priyam, I'm going to get to that hopefully by the end of the session. But if it is minus x squared, you still have to factorize it. But because it's minus x squared, like I said, you've got to actually flip the graph upside down. We're going to get to that as well, Pritesh. Just give me a second. I just need to find a question. Also, is it also correct if we write and instead of or? That's a really good question. I think I'm supposed to write and or. Give me 1 second, guys. I just want to double check that. I actually think it's and not or, but I could be just having a brain freeze. Look, what I'll do is I'm going to give you guys another question to work on. You guys work on this and I'll mix it up for you guys. But I'll leave the working up here so that you guys can actually kind of follow the pattern. Silly thing. Just want to make sure I give you guys easy questions, otherwise I'll end up doing something silly. All right, try those two questions. So Campbell, we actually got two zones in question number 2. That's why I've highlighted as two separate parts. So when you actually have two parts, you actually have to write or and. I'm just going to look it up very quickly because I can't remember. I always mix that up. I don't know why. You guys work on question 3 and 4. I'll have a quick look at them. Oh, come on. Why is there a website update now? Where is it? Level 1 algebra exam papers. Inequalities, come on. Okay. Something tells me it's and, but I'm gonna try and, yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna try and kind of work through that. So be careful with question 3, Alex. Look at the symbol, where it's going. I lost that question. Only 17 then. Where are you hiding? And or equivalent. Okay, I need to do a little bit more research on this because I don't want to actually mess you guys up. I've always used OR because it's a single value of X, but then you're right, it could be AND because of the two zones. It's this zone and this zone. All right, right, L. So this is where I get kind of give you guys kind of like shortcuts if you don't get the symbol, right? If you don't get the symbols, sometimes just kind of seeing a pattern will always work. So when you have one zone, like how it's in question 1, you're gonna get X in the middle. When you have two zones, you're gonna have that or AND with the two different separate things. So let's kind of go through question 3 now, and I'll show you what I mean by. So hopefully this you can kind of get this from this L. So the first step is I'm going to factorize this. So I've got X plus 5 and X minus 2 is greater than 0. So then I've got X plus 5 is equal to 0, or X minus 2 is equal to 0. So in my first case I'm going to get X is negative 5, and my second case I'm going to get X is positive 2. So L, this is what I meant by. With this, what you want to do is, again, look at the coefficient of X squared. It's a positive graph, so it's a positive parabola, and the 2 points you're working with is negative 5 and positive 2. And we're looking for greater than 0. So remember, we're looking for bigger than 0, which means it's going to be bigger than this point here. And of course, remember that this is where the x-axis is. So in this case, I'm just kind of having a look at L. because we know that this is going to be two zones, right? So this is why I actually say when you see two zones like this, write down or first, or and, whichever one, but I'll confirm that later on. As I said, I don't know, it's just my brain is having a bit of a slow day. So then the next part is write down your two intervals that they're starting with. So I'm going to write down 2 and -5. The arrows always end up pointing to the left because that's the smallest. So in this case, x is greater than 2, or x is less than -5, and then you're done. That's your final answer. Not sure, Mano. I think that's something you need to check with your careers advisor, man. So Eric and L, hopefully that helped you guys with finding that zones. It's like if you have two zones, then you're going to have like something or something, and then if you just have one zone, it's like those two values are the x's between those two values. Okay, let's see. All right, let's do question number 4. So I can't write no. By nevermore. If you actually write down that, what you've written there is basically saying 2x is less than 2 and x is bigger than -5. So what you're actually saying is this part here. So that's actually for less than 0. So that's what your answer is saying there, by nevermore. Campbell, that's correct, yeah. So we did the two zones because in the question the zone was greater than 0. And the parabola here, you've actually got two parts that are greater than 0. The two blue colored parts. So Eric, always remember the sign is actually pointing to the smallest number. So if you look at Eric, if you have a look at here, right, in this one, I'm saying that x is actually bigger than 2. So it's actually pointing to 2, which 2 is the smallest number. While in this case, x is the smallest number. So x is actually less than -5 because you've got x could be anything from -5 and below, or x could be 2 and above. All right, are we good? Can we go to question number 4? Sorry to hear that, Scott. No, Campbell, x is not less than +2. It's actually greater than +2. So notice how x is on the other side of the 2. So I'm not actually saying, if I had written this, Campbell, then this is saying x is less than 2. But because I wrote what's above it, that the top line is actually saying x is bigger than 2. All right, we're going to go to question 4, and I'll keep an eye on the questions on the side. So with question 4, the first step is actually making the right hand side 0. All right, so what we got to do is x squared plus 4x plus 3 is less than 0. And of course, remember it's plus 3 because when you're bringing it to from the, well, when you're switching its sides, it's going to change symbol. Thanks, Beckham. Appreciate it, man. Isn't that greater than though? Campbell, yes, it is, but it also depends on how you write it. So for example, I've written here that x is greater than 2. That's one way of writing it. Or the other way of writing it is like this. So I think in the top line I'm saying 2 is less than x. So if you think about it, 2 is less than x, which is the same thing as saying x is greater than 2. Mr. Lands will be back for level 2 tomorrow. So going back to question 4, once we did that, now we need to factorize. So we're going to factorize this. I gave you guys a nice one to kind of work with. So we've got x plus 3 and x plus 1 equals to 0. So x plus 3 equals to 0, or x plus 1 equals to 0. So we're going to get x is equal to minus 3 and x is equal to minus 1. Yep, that's fine, Campbell. You could actually write x greater than 2. That's still correct. So once we've got this, so the next one again, we're going to look at what have I got? It's a positive parabola. So because it's a positive parabola, it's going to look like this. Our two roots that we're looking at, solutions, -3 and -1. And we're looking for, in this case, just be careful. Well, it doesn't matter because we are actually looking for less than 0. So because we're looking for less than 0, it is going to be this zone here. So you've actually got it the other way around now. Same with your L. This is for less than 0, right? So remember, guys, it's less than 0. So if it's less than 0, in this case, write down the first smallest value, the highest value, put an x in the middle of it, and that's your final answer. Yes, Campbell. So if it's less than 0, you shade in the bottom part because that's when all the y values are negative. So remember, in a graph, that less than 0 and greater than 0 is looking at the y values. Yep, absolutely correct there. You got it right, Campbell. So Eric, what have you done is you've actually done for greater than 0. Don't worry, Aspect, when this tutorial is finished, it'll get saved and you can still catch up on it. All right, so somebody asked me for what a word question would look like. Let me have a look. There are some old questions. Where did they come? 2016, 2015. Unless, no, I don't think they've done it. That was stupid. 2016. Let's go 2016 back. Just want to get you guys one question, so you get an idea of what it could look like. No. That's not it. Because in a weird way, they've kind of stopped asking that type of word question, but they have actually put it in different formats. Ah, here we go. Got it. It's funny, the numbers that they've chosen is something that I've already worked with today. That's all right, just makes it a bit easier. So let me see if I can put it here. Now, Eric, what happens is these questions actually are kind of like the base questions. If you get the hang of the base questions, then I could actually show you guys what the excellence question could look like. But it's just, they've done a lot of, what do you call it? Cheeky things where they've mixed like a couple of questions. Fletcher, if you go to my website, man, in my website, go under level 1 MCAT tutorials, and there should be a simultaneous one that I did last year. All right. Just trying to see if it's actually popped up. It's still not popping up. Give me a second, guys. This is just slow. Come on, come on. The word question should have popped up. This is syncing issues. There we go. All right, hopefully you guys can see that. Let me just blow it up a little bit. It's weird that the question that we did and this question actually came in 2015, this question. So if you guys have a look at this question, right? Basically it says if y equals to this, for what values of x will y be negative? All right. So all they're asking in this question is that they don't actually tell you guys what the equation is, so you still have to form the equation. So this is no different to the question that we did in number 3. So all this question is saying is x squared plus 3x minus 10. When is y going to be negative? That's when it's less than 0. So that's basically the type of word questions that they could potentially ask for these types of things. Yes, Campbell, that's correct. So yeah, Pritesh, you're right, because it's like, because we already calculated those two values in the previous question, right? So if you look at it in the previous question, in question number 3, y will be negative though. Okay, I'm going to explain that in a second. L, give me 1 second. So actually I'll do that right now, buddy. Hold on. So where was this question? So if we look at it, the equation was x squared plus 3x minus 10. So basically it's saying, for the question, the previous question, for this particular graph, when is the, it sucks that you guys can actually, oh, you can't see the mouse, all right. So it's, the question is actually asking, when is this parabola negative? So if you look at the y values, see how it's 0 here, and then it's -1, -2, -3, and so on. So it's actually negative below the x-axis. And if the y is positive, as Campbell actually said, it's greater than 0 because all the y values are actually positive in this zone here. So when it's above 0, all the y values are positive. So if we go back to our question number 3, sorry, the 3C part here, we're looking for less than 0. And so if we're looking for less than 0, then what we're looking, our zone that we're looking at now, so those values are still going to be the same, right? The only thing is we've got those 2 points, which happens to be still -5 and +2. But because we're looking for less than 0, it's going to be this. And so our answer would be between -5 and +2. Yeah, pretty much by Nevermore is that we always treat the question like equals to 0, get those roots. Once we get the roots, then we can use it to actually figure out where the zones are. So Eric, at the moment, I'll probably be definitely doing it on Mondays for sure. But as we get closer to the actual exam date, we'll probably increase it to like 2 a week. All right. Are we okay with question 3 and 4? Are we ready to go to the next next level of these questions? All right, so now I'm gonna start kind of, should I complicate it yet? Yeah, let's complicate it. Let's do it. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna get another question for you. We're gonna do why is my internet slow? Sorry, just getting a question for you guys. So this is going to be question 5, and I think this is, some of you guys have kind of already asked this question, and I am going to throw you guys off. So the whole point is to kind of make things a little bit more challenging for you guys, but at the same time not too challenging. Come on. All right, here we go. Just to throw you off a bit. Question 4, how come the zone changes? Yeah, see what happens, Fletcher. That's the whole point. I was trying to throw you off a bit, but clearly it's not going to work. Campbell, question 4, the zone is below less than 0. So it's not changed, it's just less than 0, that's all. Eric, have a look at the comment above you, what Fletcher actually said. All right, guys, once for those people that have finished number 5, I'm going to put up number 6. And I think number 6 is the one you want to learn how to do, because if you can do that, then that would be classified as an excellence question, or at least leading up to it. So Michael, I'm going to ask you to look up 2 comments above you what Fletcher actually said. He's talking about question 5, rearranging question 5. I love seeing, what do I say it? I love seeing incorrect answers, because that means you're going to learn something today. Alright, I'm gonna give you guys another 20 seconds and I'll start working through this question. Alright, you guys definitely got the right idea. It's just like one concept that you're missing. Ravish, go and do some level 2 stuff, buddy. So guys, the reason why I gave you guys apply to the YM step. Okay, I'm going to do question 5 first. So I'm going to rearrange this because as you guys were mentioning, yes, you cannot actually factorize negative at the moment. I mean, yeah, you'll learn how to do it at level 2 and level 3, but right now, because we've got 0 on one side, what we're going to do is we're going to shift everything to the other side. But it is going to be rewritten as x squared minus 4x plus 3. So all I'm looking for is, in this case, is when is this parabola actually less than 0? All right. So, and I think that's what you guys need to kind of understand about what's what's actually happening with this. So we're still going to follow everything the same thing. So we're going to put 0 is equal to x squared minus 4x plus 3. And I think that's what you had up there, Alex. I think that's what you guys all did. So then what you could do is you went x minus 3, x minus 1 equals to 0. So then you said x is equal to 3 or x is equal to 1. All right. Now here's where some of you guys made the mistake. The thing that's really, really important to understand, let me just go back to this, is it really depends on which of the two graphs you're looking at. And what I mean by that is this part here. Let me just show you guys. No, that's not it. So there's two parts, the two ways you can look at it. All right. So regardless, the 3 and 1 is going to be the solutions for this equation and this equation. But the problem is both of those equations are two different versions. So let me show you what I mean by. The top one that I'm going to highlight is a negative parabola. All right, because it's negative x squared. So because it's negative x squared, that's going to look like this. And our 2 points, we know what our 2 points are. It's going to be positive 1 and positive 3. All right, so that is our top line here. So that's this part. Damn, wrong color. Now let's say I'm looking at the second equation, and I'm going to try and color it in a different color here. So the second equation is going to be in pink. Now that one, it's actually a positive parabola because the coefficient of x squared is actually positive 1. So we're going to end up with a positive parabola. It's an ugly parabola, but we get the idea. And our values again are still going to be 1 and positive 3. But here is the kicker, right? Here's the kicker, and this is what you guys need to understand why you went wrong with, some of you guys went wrong with that answer. So the first thing is this. With the green negative parabola, we are actually looking for, if you look at the symbol, it's greater than 0, right? If it's greater than 0, we are actually looking at above the x-axis, which is going to be that zone there. Now, if we look at the second pink graph, it's this part here, which is actually less than 0 because it's written the other way around. If it's less than 0, it's going to be below the x-axis. But the interesting thing though is both of them end up giving you the same answer, because in the first one your zone is between 1 and 3, and in the second one your zone is between 1 and 3. Yep, Andy, yeah, tomorrow level 2, buddy. So that is pretty much what I wanted to show you guys, the difference between those two questions and why some of you got two separate answers, because it's not looking at the question in the right format. Hopefully that kind of made sense. 4x over the equal sign becomes negative. Okay, let me just have a look at some of the questions. Blah blah blah. Missed up question 5. No, you're all right. Right. Questions on that aspect? I think you've got to watch the beginning of the stream to get the hang of that, man. But like I said, it'll get saved in about 5 minutes. Can it be written as 3? No. Suhaib, it cannot be written like that because you're... Wait. Let me just double check. 3... Yes, you can actually write that out. Sorry, Suhaib, I just didn't read that properly. Yes, you can write it like that because what you're saying is x is bigger than 1 and smaller than 3. That's fine, Suhaib. You can write it like that. But just get into the habit of writing the smallest number on your left-hand side and your biggest number on the right-hand side. So that's why you'll notice the arrows are pointing always to the smallest number in my answer. How did I rearrange? Oh, right. So when you have something like this, 4x minus 3 minus x squared, say for example if it equals to 0, right? Then when I actually transfer all of these to from the left hand side to the right hand side, the symbol changes. So here I've got minus x squared, so when I bring it to the other side of equals, it becomes positive x squared. Here it's positive 4x, so when I bring it to the other side, opposite of positive is negative, so negative 4x. Then I've got minus 3, taking minus 3 to the other side, we'll make it plus 3. So when is it and? Yeah, I'll confirm that with you, L, because I just need to go through my answers. I haven't done this in a while, so in the sense where the and or, I know I messed it up before as well. So at the moment, when is it? Are you talking about when do we have two separate answers? Peanut butter, in this case, yes, because it's between those two values that it's going to be greater than 0 or less than 0. All right, guys. Number 6 is what I really wanted to work through, and I'm completely aware of the time. But I'm going to kind of go through it fairly quickly. The only difference between number 6 and number 5 is that you've got that factorizing when it's actually not, when x squared's coefficient is actually bigger than 1. So that's the only part that's extra that you've got to do. So in other words, I'm going to spend a bit more time on question 6 the next time. So we do more questions like question number 6 pretty much for an entire session. That's what we're going to be doing. Just covering, because that's how those excellence questions come, where they have quadratic inequalities and x squared with a value, like the coefficient of x squared bigger than 1. So at the moment, we've just kind of been like doing all the foundations right. And if you're comfortable with question 5, then it's all right. But if you're comfortable with question 3 and 4, and that means you're pretty much set to learn 6, and then you're good to go from that point onwards. So we're going to do 6 real quickly, just because I'm aware of the time. The first step we're going to do is we're going to write this as equals. So we're going to go 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals to 0. We're then going to work out, we're going to have to factorize this. So I'm going to go 2 times negative 2. Not sure yet, Revish, I'll keep you posted, man. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 4, and it has to add up to positive 3. So the negative 4, I got it from doing 2 multiplied with negative 2, and the positive 3 is actually from here. So in this case, the two numbers I'm going to be looking for is negative What am I looking for? So it's going to be -4 and +1. No, that's not going to work. I think it's +4 and -1. Because 4 times -1 is -4, and 4 plus -1 is +3. So this is how I do it. Now, if you actually know a completely different way of how to do this, then that's absolutely fine as well. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be splitting up the 3x with 4 and -1. So I'm going to write this as 2x squared plus 4x minus 1x minus 2. So if you notice, all I've done is I've simply expand, like kind of broken this 3x into +4x and -1x. So once I do this, I need to factorize by parts. So in the first part, I've got 2x as a common factor. So I can write x plus 2. And in the second one, I've got -1 as a common factor. So I can write x plus 2. Now guys, look, I'll be honest, like if I'm going too fast, I do apologize. But we will be doing this in more detail in the next session, like the quadratic inequalities. But I just want to try and get this out of the way so we can finish wrapping it up. So we've got x plus 2 times 2x minus 1. So just to clarify, the 2x is from there, the -1 is from there, and the x plus 2 is a common factor, which means we can actually take it out. So we've got all of this is equal to 0. So our two values that we're looking for is x plus 2 equals to 0, and we've got 2x minus 1 equals to 0. And so in the first case, we've got x equals -2, and in the second case, we've got 2x is equal to 1, and x is equal to 1 over 2. So we've got our two values. All right. Now, once we have our two values, we're going to go back and look at the coefficient of x squared. Wrong colored pen. And we can see that the coefficient is +2. So if it's +2, then the parabola is very happy. And our two values we're looking for happens to be -2 and 1/2. And the next thing also to remember, we're looking for, I need a different color. We're looking for bigger than 0, and if it's bigger than 0, we're looking at this zone and this zone. And because we've got two zones here, we're going to start off by writing OR. We're going to write our two values right next to each other. And there's our final answer. Yep. No, Eric. Eric, you've given me the answer for less than 0, not greater than 0. Same with you, Suhaib. Remember, it's greater than 0, so we're actually looking above the x-axis. Hope you guys got that, Suhaib and Eric, because it was actually above the greater than 0. If the orange highlighted area shows that it's actually bigger than 0. So if it's bigger than 0, we're going to have two parts. So L, when do you have two different answers is when you actually are highlighting two separate bits. So if you notice, all the questions that we did today, can you do half as 0.5? Yes, Daniel, you can do that. That's not a problem. So going back to your question L, so notice in question 6, there's actually two parts that are highlighted, which means you're definitely going to get two different zones, right? Theo, you can't write it like that, buddy, because mathematically that doesn't actually work out. So going back to L, sorry L, I'm just going bouncing around here, but if you only have like one shaded region, like how we did in question 5, you're going to have only it's going to be between those two values. So to kind of sum it up, I'm just going to give you that one extra bit of thing here. So parabola, right? What you're going to have is you're going to have two situations that's going to happen L. So you could either have, you're looking for less than 0 or more than 0. So these are the only two situations that could actually happen. So less than 0, greater than 0. All right. So in this case, so say for example, this is your solution 1, solution 2, solution 1, solution 2. So in this case, you've got actual x's between x1 and x2. But in this case, because you have two zones, you're going to have or. So x is less than x1 or x is greater than x2. So only those are the two situations that could happen with quadratic inequalities, L. So as long as you understand that little diagram, you can apply that for every question for quadratic inequalities. So just to answer Anika, we'll be doing another quadratic session with inequalities with these ones here, like the big ones, like with the how we did question 6. We'll spend probably a whole session on question 6, like aspect. Thank you, but it's all right, man. Appreciate it. Eric, we will be doing yeah, so we'll do another session on this, because what's going to happen is later on I'm going to try and combine all of the three, like the way they ask these some of the exponential questions, they actually end up asking with quadratic inequalities, and it's a really cool question, because if you guys get it, you can pretty much nail an excellence if you get this concepts that we're working on right now. So that's why I'm spending a bit of time with you guys in terms of just going through like one question, but like one idea, but we spend like a lot of time just working on them. Cool. So guys, that's basically it from me for this session. I'll put up something if we get some interest, then we'll actually do a Sunday Monday session next week, but otherwise I will catch up with you guys on Monday. So thank you for coming. Big favor that I could ask you guys is if you could actually pass on the site to as many people as possible, because there's just a lot of resources here. Now what I've done is also in the description, guys, I've put up my website. So in my website, all your revision material are there for MCAT. If you go under level 1 MCAT in my website, just go into level 1 and go into Algebra MCAT. You'll come to this page, which will have all the live tutorials that I've done. There's heaps of exam questions that's there for you guys. And then there's also this stuff that's quite useful for you guys, is the actual NCEA exams page. So that has every question that's actually been indexed, and all the videos are linked. So, you just click. So say, for example, you're stuck on question 2B from 2019. Just click on that, and that should take you to that particular question straight away. So yeah, so all those papers, they go back all the way up to 2014, I believe. Yeah, so big favor that I could ask you guys is get people to subscribe and get people to just go into the website and just use it. It is it's free and it's available for you guys. No worries, Alex. Yeah, just trying to help you guys through this time. Yeah, thanks, Science Ago. As always, I appreciate it. Peanut butter, just keep an eye out on my Instagram. Like I usually, it's like 2-hour notice sometimes, because it depends on the day, because Sunday is usually my training day for I'm trying to train for a marathon at the moment. So Sundays, if I'm too tired, then I'll probably fall asleep by 7:30. Aspect, yes, you can email me as many questions as you need. My email address is actually on the description as well. I know I've got a backlog of questions that I need to answer. But yeah, I will get to that. L, yeah, I did, man. That was the first video that that's where it all started from. The EMCAT is up there, I believe, 2015, right? Yeah, so that's the E1 right there. You can see it. That's where all of this idea started from. No worries, Anika. Say hi to your teachers from me. factor cubed quadratic. Email it to me, Revish. I'll try and get to it. Otherwise, I'll answer it tomorrow, fella. Aspect fresh. Aspect. What I usually do is when you send me questions. So notice how I've done this. Give me a second. I'll show you. So if you have a look at this aspect. So see how that says MCAT preparation playlist. So if anybody sends me questions, what I usually do is I answer it by video and I just upload it as part of a playlist. So that's this playlist here. So if I answer your question aspect, it'll be somewhere at the bottom there that probably pops up with so something like this. I'll do a viewer questions. So it'll pop up there. Just need to keep an eye out, man. Yeah, Pritesh, I'll be doing viewer questions. I'll just, yeah, as I said, once I find some time, I've got a backlog of questions that I need to kind of answer, but I'll get there. No, Andy, I don't do probability, man. Like I've just been doing all the algebra stuff. The EMCAT was actually trialed. It was, I think, Education Perfect were trying it back in 2015. I think it was them that tried it, but it was done online. It wasn't. Yeah, we got a lot of different views about it. So yeah, not too sure, man. But yeah, but I did do the paper though. The paper was alright. It wasn't too bad. But it's just like when you start doing algebra with back then they didn't have like Apple pencils and stuff like that. Now it's a lot better, but back then they didn't. So you had to actually type the answers. Right. Anyway, with that, I'm going to leave you guys. I'll catch you guys next time. As for the level 2s, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. I'll hang out on the chat as always for a few minutes, but I'll catch you guys next time. See you later, guys.